The Saab 900 is a compact luxury automobile that was produced by Saab from 1978 until 1998 in two generations. The first generation from 1978 to 1993 is known as the Classic. The generation from 1994 to 1998 is known as the New Generation. The Classic Saab 900 was based on the Saab 99 chassis, though with a longer front end to meet U.S. frontal crash regulations. The 900 was produced in 2- and 4-door sedan, and 3- and 5-door hatchback configurations. In addition, from 1986, a cabriolet model was produced. There were single and twin-Zenith carburettor, fuel injection, and turbocharged engines, including both full-pressure turbo, and, in European models during the early 1990s, low-pressure turbos. Overview: the Saab 900 is a front-engined, front-wheel drive compact car with a longitudinally mounted, 45-degree slanted, L4-cylinder engine, double wishbone front suspension and beam axle rear suspension. It was originally introduced in May 1978, for the 1979 model year. Like its predecessor the 99, the 900 contained a number of unusual design features that distinguish it from most other cars. First, the engine was installed backwards, with power delivered from the crank at the front of the car. Second, the transmission, technically a transaxle, bolted directly to the bottom of the engine to form the oil pan. Thus, power from the crank would be delivered out of the engine at the front, then transferred down and back to the transmission below, via a set of chain-driven primary gears. In similar fashion, Minis also had their gearbox mounted directly below the engine. However, the Mini gearbox and engine shared the same oil, whereas the Saab 900 gearboxes contained a separate sump for engine oil. Refined over several decades of two-digit Saab models, the 900's double wishbone suspension design provided excellent handling and road feel. The rear suspension comprised a typical beam axle design, stabilized with a panned rod. However, the attachment points between the axle and chassis made up an unusual configuration that, in essence, consists of two Watts linkages at either end of the axle. A lower control arm attaches the axle to the bottom of the vehicle, while an upper link attaches at the top but faces towards the rear, unlike a typical four-link design with both lower and upper links facing forward. Early models did not have sway bars. They began appearing on certain models in 1985, and, in US and possibly other markets, became standard on all trim levels by the late 1980s. The sway bars decreased body roll, but at the expense of some ride comfort and when driven aggressively, increased inside wheel spin. The front and rear bars diameters were unchanged throughout the model's run. The 900 utilized a deeply curved front windshield, providing the best driver visibility, calling attention to the Mark's aircraft legacy. Also underscoring their aircraft lineage, the 900's dashboard was curved to enable easy reach of all controls and featured gauges lit up from the front. Saab engineers placed all controls and gauges in the dashboard according to their frequency of use and/or importance so that the driver need only divert his gaze from the road for the shortest possible time and by the smallest angle. This is why, for example, the oft-used radio is placed so high in the dashboard. In keeping with the paradigm of its predecessor, the 99 model, the 900 employed a door design unique in automotive manufacturing, entailing an undercutting sweep to meet the undercarriage, engendering a tight, solid unit when the door was closed. This feature also eliminated the stoop in the cabin at the footing of the door, as seen in automobiles of other manufacturers, thereby preventing water and debris from collecting and possibly entering the cabin or initiating corrosion, as well as enabling passengers to enter and exit the cabin without need to step over several inches of ledge. The 900 underwent minor cosmetic design changes for 1987, including restyled front end and bumpers that went from a vertical to a more sloped design. Sheet metal body parts were unchanged. Being a small car factory, for economic reasons, Saab kept the basic undercarriage more or less unchanged throughout the 900's production run. The Saab 900 could be ordered with different options. One highly sought-after option was called the Aero or Sports Package, or, as it was known in the U.S., Special Performance Group, or correctly, sports package. The Aero SPG incorporated a body skirt. Engineered by Martin Freestone, a sports suspension that included shorter, stiffer springs, stiffer shocks, and sway bars. Leather seats. Premium stereo. And air conditioning. Each of these features could, of course, be ordered independently from Saab's accessories catalogue for fitment to standard models. Another desirable UK option at this time was the fitment of very distinctive Minolite alloy wheels. Initially these had the words Minolite and Saab cast in raised lettering. Power output varied by model year and market, but 900S and 900 turbo models produced after 1985 were fitted with a 16-valve engine, while the basic 900 kept the earlier 8-valve engine. A 1989 Saab 900 SPG owned by Peter Gilbert of Wisconsin, was driven over 1 million miles, before being donated to the Wisconsin Automotive Museum. Peter Gilbert claimed 1 million miles out of the turbocharging unit in addition to the engine itself. Saab gave Mr. Gilbert a Saab 9-5 Aero. History. The 1979 900 was available in 3 versions. The GL had the single-carb 99 horsepower per 73.5 kilowatts engine. The GLS had twin carburettors for 106 horsepower per 79.5 kilowatts. The EMS and GLE had fuel injection for 116 horsepower per 87 kilowatts, and the 900 Turbo produced 143 horsepower per 107 kilowatts. A 5-speed transmission was introduced in the EMS and Turbo for 1980. The only bodywork originally available was the 3- or 5-door hatchback style, which was seen as more modern at the time. The 900 sedan was introduced in Geneva 1980, as a result of dealer pressure. This introduction corresponded with the phase-out of the old Saab B engine in favor of the lighter Saab H engine. In the early 1980s, most 900s were produced in Troller currency TTAN. However, coinciding with the production of the 9000, more 900s were produced elsewhere. The Valmet plant in Finland, referenced below under the 900C, also produced the non-convertible as evidenced by one previously owned by this author and imported by the Saab US distributor. The plant in Ala Paragraph E, near Malmö Paragraph, also produced some 900s. A big change for 1982 was the introduction of Saab's automatic performance control, aka boost controller. The APC employed a NOx sensor, allowing the engine to use different grades of gasoline without engine damage. Another new feature that year was the introduction of central locking doors. Asbestos-free brakes were introduced in 1983, an industry first. A new model also appeared that year in Sweden, the GLE, which used the fuel-injected engine. The year 1984 saw the introduction of the 16-valve DOHC-B202 engine in Europe. With a turbocharger and intercooler, it could produce 175 horsepower per 129 kilowatts in the Turbo 16 model. The Turbo 16 Aero, designated SPG, Special Performance Group in North American markets had a body kit allowing the car to reach 210 km per hour. A different grille and 3-spoke steering wheel appeared across all models. The dual-carb model was gone for 1985. Now, the base 900 had the single carburettor engine, while the 900i added fuel injection. 2 turbocharged models were offered. The 900 Turbo had the 8-valve engine, while the T16S had the 16-valve intercooled unit. The 8-valve Turbo had the intercooler the next year, while the 16-valve cars had hydraulic engine mounts. 1986 also marked the introduction of the 900 Convertible in North America. A new grille, headlights, front sidelights and so-called integrated bumpers freshened the 900's look for 1987, though the sheet metal was largely unchanged. Several common parts for the 900 and 9000 were introduced for 1988 model year, including brakes and wheel hubs. A water and oil-cooled turbocharger was also introduced to improve the unit's durability. In each of the seasons 1987 and 1988, there was a special one-make race series, in the UK, called the Saab Turbo Mobile Challenge, sponsored by Saab Great Britain and Mobil. it was run by the Bach. The 8-valve engines were phased out in 1989 and 1990, with the turbo versions having been removed in North American markets by the end of 1984. North American 900S models received the non-turbo 16-valve engine for 1986. A non-turbo 16-valve engine replaced the 8-valve FI unit in the 900i as well, while the carburetted engines were dropped. Larger pinion bearings were fitted to manual gearboxes for 1989 to improve their strength and reliability. A low-pressure turbo engine was available in European markets in 1990 as well. Anti-lock brakes were introduced in 1990, and were standard on turbo models and, along with a driver's side airbag, were standardized for all North American market cars. A 2.1L engine was introduced in 1991. This engine was available in the United States until the end of the original 900, but in most of Europe, this engine was replaced a year later with the earlier B202 because of tax regulations in some European countries for engines with a displacement of more than 2,000 cc's. By 1990, the Saab 900 no longer offered the mesh wheels. There was also a change in the door locks, which carried over to the 900NG. Front seats from the 9000 were standard from 1991 on, and electronically adjustable ones were available as an option. Classic 900 production ended on March 26, 1993, with a new GM 2900 platform-based 900 entering production shortly afterwards. The final classic convertibles were still sold as 1994 models, with the special edition commanding top dollar in the resale market even today. In all, 908,870 and Saab 900s were built, including 48,888 convertibles. Convertible. In the mid-1980s, the president of Saab Scania of America, Robert J. Sinclair, suggested a convertible version to increase sales. The first prototype was built by ASC, American Sunroof Company. Similarly, Lynx Motors International Limited produced 2 convertible models, just prior to the official 1986 launch. The Troller Currency TTAN design department, headed by BJ Paragraph RN Envil, based its version on the 3-door hatchback, while the Finnish plant used the sturdier 2-door version, which also looked better and was therefore selected for production. The initial production was not planned to be large, but the orders kept coming in and a classic was born. The new car was shown for the first time at the Frankfurt Motor Show in the autumn of 1983. The first prototype aroused enormous interest, and in April 1984, Saab decided to put the car in production at Valmet Automotive in Finland. The production of the first 900 convertible started during the spring of 1986. The convertible usually had a 16-valve turbocharged engine, some with intercooler, but it was also offered in certain markets with a fuel-injected 2.1L naturally aspirated engine from 1991 on. Influenced by General Motors, in 1994 the new generation 900 SE, based on the Opel Vectra chassis, was introduced. While this design contained styling cues reminiscent of the classic 900, the GM 900 was fundamentally a different car. For many fans of the marque, the GM 900 marked the end of Saab's technology-driven design philosophy and, in their view, the beginning of the dilution of the Saab brand. The cabriolet convertible, however, was made on the classic chassis for an additional year. This model is affectionately known as the Goose, as, in some markets, the emblem on the back of the SE version reads Saab 900 SE, which looks a bit like Goose. In US and Canadian markets, commemorative versions were produced for 1994 featuring special charcoal metallic Nova black paint, a wood dash, black leather piping on the seats and higher-performing engines. Engine development. Saab introduced a turbocharger in 1978 in its 99 Turbo with the B engine. This engine was also used in early 900 turbo models. The B engine was redesigned as the H engine, which was used through to 1993. The H engine is very durable. Due to a fairly standardized engine management system, the H engine can be easily tuned to 197 horsepower per 147 kilowatts. With further bolt-on modifications, to the 247 horsepower per 184 kilowatts range. Saab used Bosch-made mechanical cage-electronic continuous fuel injection in the fuel-injected and 8-valve turbocharged versions, and the Bosch LH 2.2, 2.4 and 2.4.2 and Lucas Automotive electronic fuel injection systems were used in the 16-valve versions. The 2.1 Li4 16-valve engine used the Bosch LH 2.4.2 EZK electronic fuel injection system with knock sensor. What set the 900 Turbo apart from its turbo-equipped competitors, especially in the early and mid-1980s, was the development and use of the automatic performance control boost controller. The system allowed the engine to run at the limits of engine knocking. The system had a knock sensor attached to the intake side of the motor block, and if knocking of any kind was present, the APC system would decrease the charge pressure by opening a wastegate, a bypass to the exhaust. This enabled the use of various octane fuels and also made the use of the turbocharger safer for the engine. Some 900 Aeros, Carlsons and Commemorative editions had special APC controllers in red and black enclosures that provided more boost and increased power to 175 horsepower or 185 horsepower without a catalytic converter. At first, Saab used a Garrett turbocharger, which was oil-cooled. From 1988 through 1990, water-cooled T3s were fitted. In 1990, Saab fitted Mitsubishi TE05 turbochargers in the SPG models only for the USA. For other countries, and for the USA from 1991, all 900 turbos were fitted with the TE05. Also water-cooled, the TE05 was slightly smaller than the Garrett T3s, providing improved throttle response and quicker spool-up. The TE05 is unique in that its exhaust inlet flange utilizes a Garrett T3 pattern. Engines 1979 Euro 1989, 2.0 LB201NA, single carb, 99 horsepower at 5200 RPMs and 163 Nm, 1979 Euro 1984, 2.0 LB201NA, dual carb, 106 horsepower at 5200 RPMs and 165 Nm, 1979 Euro 1989, 2.0 LB201NA, FI, 116 horsepower at 5500 RPMs and 168 Nm at 3700 RPMs, 1979 Euro 1985, 2.0 LB201 Turbo, 143 horsepower at 5000 RPMs and 235 Nm, 1986 Euro 1989, 2.0 LB201 Intercooled Turbo, 138 horsepower-155 horsepower at 5000 RPMs and 235 Nm, 1984 Euro 1993. 2.0 LB202 16-valve turbo, 160 horsepower-175 horsepower at 5500 RPMs and 255 Nm 273 Nm, 1987 Euro 1993, 2.0 LB202 16-valve, NA, 124 horsepower-128 horsepower at 6100 RPMs and 170 Nm 177 Nm, 1990 Euro 1993, 2.0 L. B202 16-valve low-pressure turbo, 143 horsepower at 5600 RPMs and 202 Nm, a Euro 1994, 2.0 LB202 16-valve intercooled turbo in the convertible. 1991 Euro 1993, 2.1 LB212 NA, FI, 138 horsepower at 6000 RPMs and 180 Nm, a Euro 1994, 2.1 LB212 NA, FI, 138 horsepower at 6000 RPMs and 180 Nm in the convertible. Performance Saab 900i. 118 horsepower acceleration 0 to 100 km per hour 11.4 seconds. Top speed 175 km per hour. Saab 900 Turbo. 145 horsepower, DIN. Acceleration 0 to 100 km per hour 9.5 seconds. Top speed 202 km per hour. Saab 900 Turbo 16S. 175 horsepower, acceleration 0 to 100 km per hour 8.5 seconds. Top speed 217 km per hour. Special models. 900 Glee Gold. The Gold Special Edition was available in the UK in 1981 as the first 900 four-door saloons. These had turbo-spec velour interior finished in either blue or black with gold pinstripes, twin air vent bonnet and fuel gauge showing tank contents in litres. 900 Tjagaum. The Tjagaum saloon was released in a batch of 300 to celebrate Saab's 25th year in the UK. These had the 1985cc's 8-valve engine with Bosch K-Jetronic fuel injection. Interior trim was blue turbo velour with a special gear knob with the car's number. Exterior, the model was a standard non-turbo apart from alloy wheels, Tjagaum pinstriping and turbo-style rear spoiler. 900 carats. 900C was built in Zakaupunki, Finland and in Ala Paragraph E, Sweden just outside Malmö. Paragraph, was a late 1980s carburetted model. It used an 8-valve B201 engine with a single carburettor producing 100 bhp and included power steering as standard equipment. 900 Aero or 900 SPG. In 1984, Saab introduced a high-performance model known in Europe as the Aero. In North America, the model designation became SPG due to a model and trademark conflict with GM. The Aero SPG was the first Saab to be delivered with the 160 bhp 16-valve turbo motor. The concept Aero SPG vehicles were met with huge acceptance by the motoring community. These prototypes were painted a mother-of-pearl white and had red leather interiors with matching Colorado red dashboards. Unfortunately, in testing, the pearl-scent white was found to be too difficult to repair in terms of color, and as such, this color was never offered to the public for sale. Only 29 of these prototype Aero SPGs were manufactured and are considered quite rare by collector standards. The factory retained, and subsequently crushed, 22 of the white prototypes. The remaining 7 vehicles were employed as press vehicles for the series launch. 4 of the prototypes were sent to the United States. 1 was wrecked in 1993. The other 3 are owned by collectors in California, New York and Rhode Island. The 3 European spring vehicles are also collector-owned, one of which receiving a comprehensive restoration between 2007 to 2010. Har Currency-Bugabilden entering Sweden junked 1 in 1999. In 1984, the first year of consumer production, the Aero SPG was delivered in black and in silver. In Australia, the 1985 silver models had a dark red interior, including full red leather. In the US, the black cars were featured with tan leather interiors. In Canada and in the rest of the world, the cars were black with red leather interiors. In the US market, the SPG was offered in black in 1985, grey in 1986 to 1987, grey, black, 400, and silver, 1, in 1988, grey and black in 1989, red and black in 1990 and red, 40, black, 105, and beryl green, 109, in 1991. Production of the SPG was extremely limited and paint color availability varied by year. The final year of production was 1991 in the USA. In total, over the course of 6 years, 7,625 SPGs were built and imported to North America. In the rest of the world, Aeros were equally rare, especially those loaded with leather interiors, AC and other luxuries considered standard by upscale North American consumers. The Spring is fondly regarded by car collectors and Saab enthusiasts. 900 EP. The EP was a special Ecopower model for the Italian market. It uses a 16-valve low-pressure turbo engine and is a preheated catalytic converter. It was sold outside Italy with a 900S badge. 900 Candelas. In 1977, Valmet had created an elongated executive model of the 99 Combi Cooper copyright named Finlandia. With the introduction of the 900, the concept was transferred onto the new chassis. The Finlandia was 20 cm longer than standard, by adding 10 cm to both front and rear doors, but only the rear legroom was larger. The idea behind the car was to produce an executive car which would appeal to the Nordic market as an option to big German and American sedans. The first cars were sold as the Saab 900 Finlandia. These cars made between 1979 and 1982 were Combi Cooper Copyright S, and didn't have the CD designation. Very few examples of these early models were exported. After the more representable four-door sedan was introduced, the CD designation replaced the nickname and the Swedish Saab headquarters started to officially offer the car for export. The 900 CD was made at the Valmet factory in Saab, Finland. At least in the domestic market the cars were essentially built to the buyer's wishes. The list of optional extras for the CD included a leather interior, reading lights, rear blinds, footrests, and even an in-car telephone. However, due to the car's special nature and demanding customer base, the trim and technical specifications of some examples can be unique. The Saab factory clearly had high aspirations for the car. Valmet even developed a prototype of an even longer, 7-seat limousine as a concept car of an official state car. 900 Springtime in Sweden, SIS equals, in 1988, Saab commissioned 288 special convertibles, one for each of its United States dealers, as part of the 1988 dealer meeting in Sweden. Dubbed the Springtime in Sweden, or SIS model, these cars are differentiated by their aero SPG-like bodywork and three-spoke wheels. Each car was painted black, with buffalo grey leather interiors and black convertible roofs. Each car was marked with a special Springtime in Sweden emblem that was attached to the lower left of the glove box door. The emblems were all identical and are not serialized. All were turbo models. Of the 288 built, 4 were automatics and the remaining 284 had 5-speed manual transmissions. Emblems on the exterior body were deleted in the scheme of the SPG, with only the word Saab and the Saab Scania roundel on the trunk appearing on the car. The car was fitted with the standard Saab grille for the period, but did not feature the miniature turbo emblem. The spring suspension was not fitted, and aside from the SPG body fairings and dash emblem, the SIS is identical to a standard 1988 900 turbo convertible in the black-grey color combination. The cars were sold, one to each dealer, however some dealers used the opportunity to trade their SIS convertible with other dealers in an effort to get other car models for sale. Contrary to popular belief, the SIS was not given to the dealers for free. Dealers paid for their own car. The invoice price even reflected the increased cost of the SPG bodywork. Each dealer did however receive an Orifors crystal vase, engraved with the Saab Scania logo, packed in the trunk when the SIS was delivered stateside as a surprise gift. Please note, some individuals in an attempt to portray provenance of their vehicles, point to a sticker behind the driver's side door card, that reads, in part, Aero, and Cabrio. This sticker was at one time affixed to all C900 convertibles and does not designate the vehicle as being of the SIS series. The only true false indicator of an SIS is the inclusion of the glove box badge and/or the original window sticker. 900 Enduro equals, the Enduro was a special version of the 1980 900 Turbo assembled by Saab Australia. Only 11 900 Enduros were made along with a full body kit as a spare. The package consisted of large fiberglass wheel arches to accommodate the extra track width front and rear, front air dam and rear fiberglass spoiler fully 2 inches wider than normal. Extra gauges were mounted where the radio usually was. The radio was moved to a new lower center console that was not fitted to the 1980 model as standard. The cars were fitted with either gold or black centered Simmons P4 3-piece composite alloy 7.5x15 wheels. The overall outside edge-to-edge distance is 4 inches wider at the front and 9 inches at the rear over a 900 Turbo of the day, mainly to decrease the roll center height and improve turn-in response. Tires were 225/50 VR15 Pirelli Cinturato both front and rear. Suspension was improved with 290 mm by 17 mm 368 pounds 7.1 turn springs up front and 300 mm by 16 mm 484 pounds 9 turn springs at the rear. Steering caster was set to plus 2.25 deg plus /0.25 deg, camber to minus 1.75 deg plus /0.25 deg, and toe-in was 2.5 mm plus /0.5 mm. To increase performance, the wastegate was set at 17 psi, which delivered a claimed 175 horsepower from its 8-valve B201 slant-4 engine. Upstream water injection came standard. Paint was a 2-pack deluxe Acron enamel and came in at least 4 known colors: aquamarine blue metallic, and a very light green referred to as marble white. There was at least 1 Enduro painted in solar red, and a 4th in acacia green metallic. The hood, side window frames and rear deck were painted in deluxe GT satin black. Large Enduro stripes were emblazoned on the hood, the rear deck and along both sides at sill level, although not all vehicles were treated to the Enduro hood graphics. 900 Lux equals. The Lux was a special model available 1983 and 1984. It came in a 2-tone paint, usually slate blue metallic on top and silver below. 900 SE equals. The SE model was produced in May 1990 and came with 5 doors iridium blue with blue pin stripes down the sides. The car also featured multi-spoke alloys, full electrics, grey leather seats and would effect as standard. Only 300 were originally made for the UK market, with a choice of either a 2.0 LNA engine or 2.0 LLPT version. Later more SE versions were made. For example, the 3-door LPT 900 SE Aero. However, these were not part of the original limited run. 900 Carlson equals. The Carlson was a special edition 900 made in honor of Eric Carlson, of which only 600 examples were made in the 3 years it was in production. It is thought by most that there were only 200 examples made, but in fact there were 200 examples made for each of those 3 years. So it would be more likely that there are 200 examples of each of the 3 colors, which were black, white and red. All 900 Carlsons were 3-door hatchbacks, had a body-colored airflow body kit, were fitted with twin chrome exhausts, and were powered by the 1985cc's turbocharged engine with an upgraded APC giving 185 bhp. The 900 Carlson was also equipped with a number 8 primary gear set. 1993 and 1994 Commemorative Edition equals. 314 Commemorative Edition 900 Turbo 3-door hatchback coupe copyright S were made for the U.S. markets in 1993. All the cars were painted solid black with a tan leather interior and had 5-speed manual transmissions. The horsepower was increased to 185 horsepower by outfitting the cars with the red box APC controller, a 2.8-bar fuel pressure regulator, and a distributor with enhanced vacuum advance. The cars rode on the SPG suspension. The interior was further embellished by a walnut dash fascia and a leather gear knob and gaiter. The wheels were 15 inches directionals painted medium grey metallic with a polished lip. Each Commemorative Edition was shipped with a small brass plaque indicating its number and the series. The plaques were serialized to indicate its number out of 325. However, only 314 were actually built. In addition, 15 identically equipped cars were shipped to Canada and were equipped with metric speedometer instruments. 500 Commemorative Edition 900T convertibles were delivered to the U.S. markets in 1994. They were the last 500 Classic 900 convertibles to be built. They had the same performance modifications as the 1993 Commemorative Edition vehicles with the exception of the lower SPG suspension. They all had the 5-speed manual transmission, and came with the same uniquely styled wheels, walnut dash fascia, and leather gear knob and gaiter. The tan leather interior was further enhanced with black piping, which was exclusive to this model. The cars were all painted Nova black metallic and had tan canvas tops. 500 identically equipped cars were shipped to Canada but have metric instruments. The 1994 CE vehicles did not have a plaque designating or celebrating the series. The van numbers do however run sequentially, the only Saab Special Edition series to do so. 900 Ruby only available in the UK, the Ruby had the 185 bhp Carlson engine but no body kit. All were in ruby red and can be distinguished from other 900s by the color-coded bumpers and grey alloy wheels. They also had the unique air-conditioned interior of buffalo leather with Zenith pure wool inserts in the seats and door panels. There were 150 examples and were the last classic-style 900 sold in the UK. Swedish Special Edition 15 rarer LHD Ruby versions were also produced. 8 were made available to the Swedish market, known as the Swedish Special Edition, and the rest were scattered in Europe. They were identical to the UK spec but had a more refined lower dash or knee-guard and electric front seats. Conversions Lynx Engineering produced 2 convertible models, just prior to the official 1986 launch. A demountable camper module, the Topola, was created for the 3/5 door hatchback. Coach builder Nilsson built a wagon variant, the Safari. Limousine conversions are few, but effective. A typical modification is a 20 cm wheelbase stretch. Dealer models Some Saab dealers made special models. Saab Wimbledon made the Sprint and the Sport. The Sprint had a special body kit, lower, stiffer springs, and Pirelli Cinturato P7 on 7 inches x 16 wheels. It also came with an intercooler, full color coding and 3-spoke leather steering wheel. The Sport had alloy wheels, full color coding and spoilers, uprated suspension, 3-spoke leather steering wheel, Clarion stereo and an electric aerial. Hugh Schmidt GmbH offered options such as tuning, intercooler, suspensions tweaking and custom alloy wheels. EIA Motors of France made a series of 100 normally aspired 16-valve tuned to 158 bhp. Lynx Motors in the UK made a short-run conversion of the 2-door 900 shell to a convertible. The Winchester edition was a 4-door slate blue sedan and blue velour interior and wood trims. Saab AIM Holland made 2 special models. The Red Arrow, a red 900 Turbo 8V with a grey aero kit and a Holtail spoiler. 150 were made, 100 with Holtail and 50 without. And the Silver Arrow, a metallic silver 900 Turbo 8V sedan with special striping, wooden steering wheel and gear knob. 200 Silver Arrows were made. Both Arrows have a special plate on the dashboard with a unique number 1 to 150 and 1 to 200. Specifications: front track, 1420 mm, rear track, 1430 mm, ground clearance, 150 mm, weight distribution, 60/40, 51/49, notes on specifications, the tire supply varies by market and model year. In 1982, the U.S. market was supplied with Pirelli Cinturato P6 195/60 hours 15 tires for the 900 Turbo and Pirelli P8 185/65 Steradians 15 for the 900 and 900S Aero and SPG models, as well as vehicles that were delivered from the factory equipped with red box APC systems were shod with 195/60 VR15 tires. In 1990, the U.S. market 900 was supplied with Pirelli P8. In 1992, there were several tire suppliers and at least one U.S. market brochure stated that the U.S. distributor cannot allocate cars by tire manufacturer. Saab 900NG, the second or new generation Saab 900 was built on GM's GM2900 platform as a replacement for the classic first-generation Saab 900. This all-new 900 was produced in the 1994 through 1998 model years. In mid-1998 it received over 1,100 individual improvements, and was renamed the Saab 9-3. As the 9-3, the NG 900 was produced through 2002. Variants Variants included 900i, S and SE models in 3-door, 5-door and convertible body styles. For 1997 and 1998 only, there was also a Saab 900 Talladega, After a record-breaking endurance test in 1996, on the Talladega Superspeedway. Depending on market, the NG900 was available with a choice of 2.0L or 2.3L Saab 16-valve DOHC engines in naturally aspirated or turbocharged form, as well as a 2.5L version of GM's European 54-degree V6 engine. Engine management for the turbos was by Saab Trionic 5 with direct ignition and automatic performance control, and for non-turbos by Bosch Motronic fuel injection. A distributor-operated ignition system was provided for naturally aspirated engines in some markets. In contrast to the classic Saab 900 with its longitudinally mounted engine and front-hinged hood, the NG900 had a more common transversely mounted engine with rear-hinged hood. Sensonic the Sensonic Clutch variant, provided a manual gear lever as in a standard manual transmission car, but omitted the clutch pedal in favor of electronics which could control the clutch faster than an average driver. When a driver started to move the gear shift knob gear selector lever, a computer-controlled actuator operated the clutch. With the car in gear but stationary, the clutch was released only when throttle was applied. If neither brake nor gas pedal was depressed, a warning tone sounded and a message flashed on the onboard display, and if no action was taken after 7 seconds, the engine was shut off. A hill start function for Sensonic-equipped cars was intended to assist in getting underway on hills, by engaging the car's clutch to prevent rolling backward. However, this feature was not actually implemented on the car. Sensonic was discontinued after a short time, as it proved unpopular. Saab Information Display the NG900 introduced the Saab Information Display, or SID, which gave the driver real-time information while driving, such as fuel efficiency and outside temperature. Base specification cars had a digital clock in place of the SID and a non-digital instrument panel with a mechanical odometer. Interestingly, the SID also controls other vehicle components, including but not limited to audible warnings for turn signals and the vehicle's horn. NG engines 2.0 LB204i normally aspirated 16-valve 4-cylinder, 130 picoseconds, 2.0 LB206i normally aspirated 16-valve 4-cylinder with no balance shafts, 133 picoseconds, 2.0 LB204L 16-valve turbo intercooled, 185 picoseconds, 2.3 LB234i normally aspirated 16-valve 4-cylinder, 150 picoseconds, 2.5 LB258i 24-valve 54A. V6, 170 picoseconds. Night panel One Saab innovation, inspired by the company's roots in aeronautics, was the black panel feature, which extinguished most instrument panel lights at the touch of a button on the SID, to eliminate distraction from dash lights during night driving. While active, this feature permitted darkened instruments to re-illuminate themselves when they required driver attention, if say, the engine speed increased alarmingly or if the fuel level should drop below 15 liters. This feature was later renamed Night Panel in Saab 9-3 and Saab 9-5 models. In the later Night Panel version, the speedometer is only illuminated up to the 87 miles per hour per 140 kilometers per hour mark. The remainder of the scale will only be illuminated if the speed of the car exceeds 84 miles per hour per 135 kilometers per hour. 900i Under the leadership of General Motors, Saab was rebranded as a luxury maker. This meant that the NG900 would be positioned, and priced, above the Opel Vectra, with which it shared its chassis platform. It would also make the bottom-of-the-range 900i more expensive than the Vectra. This led to cost reduction measures for the 900i. The 900i would lose its rear window wiper, the exclusive Saab information display, and would utilize a different instrument layout with a mechanical odometer instead of a digital one. The NG900i would also lose its rear spoiler. The 900i was only available in Europe, Australia, New Zealand and Japan as a 3-door or a 5-door with a choice of a 2.0 or 2.1L engine. It did not sell very well in the UK and Australia, where the S and SE models were popular with Saab drivers. It was, however, popular as a cheaper alternative to the S and SE models. Awards and achievements: 1998, Best in Class, Cars $25,000, $35,000, Kipling's Personal Finance, USA, 1996, Among Top 10 Sports Cars, Consumers Review, USA, IBCAM British Steel Auto Design Award, the Institute of British Carriage and Automobile Manufacturers, Great Britain, Best Buy, Consumers Digest, USA, New World Records for Endurance, at Talladega, USA, 1995, Top Car in its price class, American Automobile Association, Best Buy, Consumers Digest, USA, Among Top 10 Sports Cars, Consumers Review, USA, Technology Award 1995 for Saab Sensonic, Autocar, Great Britain. 1993 and 1994, Top Choice in Annual Car of the Year Reader Poll, Auto Week Magazine, USA, Annual Special Prize to Saab Safe Seat, Motoring Journalists Club, Denmark, one of the 10 most improved cars and trucks of 1994, syndicated automotive experts Mike Anson and Stephen Parker, USA, Import Car of the Year 1993-94 in Japan, RJC, Japan, Best Buy, Consumers Digest, USA, Excellent Swedish Design 1994, the Swedish Society of Crafts and Design, Sweden, Family Car of the Year, Motoring 94, Canada, Scandinavian Design Prize 1994. The Scandinavian Design Council, Executive Car of the Year 1994, Portuguese Car Trophy, 1993 Best Buy, Consumers Digest, USA, 1994 Design of the Year, Automobile Magazine, USA, Best New Car, Kipling's Personal Finance Magazine, USA, Car of the Year 1993, Motori Magazine, Finland, Best of What's New, Popular Science, USA, Second Most Popular Car, Status Magazine, Germany, 1994 Technology of the Year, Automobile Magazine, USA. Sale of intellectual rights to BAIC. In January 2010 General Motors confirmed it was selling the intellectual property rights of the 900 along with the pre-2010 Saab 9-5 and pre-2002 Saab 9-3 to the Beijing Automotive Group for $197 million for 3 vehicle platforms, 2 transmission systems, and 2 engine systems. References: Saab 900 model year changes. SaabMuseum.com. Retrieved July 10, 2005. External links: SaabMuseum.com.